Hey everybody, Brad here. Just wanted to give you a quick heads up before the show starts. This is a very special episode of the Videogames podcast. Unfortunately, we did not have two microphones, so we kind of had to make do with what we had, and because of that, the levels might be all over the place. I am basically a novice audio engineer, so I did my best to even things out, but you may be in for a little bit of a rough ride audio-wise. Hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully you can enjoy the show, and I'm just going to have to buy a second microphone. So there you go, and here we go. Today is December 4th, 2024, and welcome to the 417th episode of the Videogames podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I'm the one-man host of the show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility info on every review we publish. Thank you for joining me today, and you have picked a good day to listen, because I'm joined here in the Game Critics West studio with a very special guest, my wife, Gina.
Hey, everyone. It's 4:30 in the morning, and I'm not sure I can match this same level of energy, but I will do my best.
I have no energy whatsoever. This is all performance. Thank you very much. So, honey, I'm very glad that you're here today. Thank you very much for joining me. I know you've been on the show before a couple times, but just for a segment or two, what is it that made you want to be on the show today?
You asked me to?
Oh, behind the scenes magic, folks. You're seeing it here in real time. So for folks that don't know you, which is probably most of the people listening, you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey, everyone. I don't know what to share. I've been playing games most of my life. It was one of the things that got us together. And I don't play nearly as much as I used to, unfortunately, but life gets in the way, and here we are.
You know, that's true. You are a real game player. And folks, I apologize if the sound levels are bouncing. We've only got one microphone right now, so we're kind of like making this work the best we can. So please bear with us here. But, yeah, we both play games. I talk about you all the time on the show and how we play games and stuff. Do you want to maybe tell the story of how our first date? That's a kind of an interesting story.
Sure. I think we've shared this before, but in case no one knows. So we had our first date at Applebee's, and we were paying, I think, right? We were getting ready to check out.
Yeah, we were paying each, going Dutch or whatever.
And I took out my wallet, and in my wallet was a GameStop card. And your response was?
I think I said some bullshit is that yours? Because I was a dickhead.
And yes, it was mine. But that was basically when he decided that this was going to happen. So here we are 20 years later.
Oh, I decided that was you had a role in that too.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. You make it sound like I kidnapped you and just brought you home or something.
Well, I've been here for 20 years, so something must be working.
The door's been pretty securely locked this whole time?
The chains are good.
She's absolutely joking. Please don't call any authorities whatsoever. Okay, folks. We're going to get down to business here. As you all know, I'm a little bit late this week, so apologies for that. A couple days late. I hate being late because I do believe that the show must go on, but kind of life got in the way this week. So we're going to just kind of roll with it. We do have a full slate of games to talk about and a lot of TV and stuff to discuss as well, so which is good. Just a heads up, I did get sent a lot of questions. Earlier in the week, I was thinking I was going to do some Q&A to kind of fill for time because I didn't have a lot of content at that time. But now that I'm so late, I'm going to put a pin in those questions. I have them all here. I will get to them, and they were actually some pretty good questions. So thank you to everybody who contributed, and I will get to those, I promise. But we're going to put a pause on those for this particular episode and get to those real soon. Let's see. We're going to just do a quick show here. We usually start off with housekeeping, where I discuss tidbits, news items, industry happenings, basically anything randomly game adjacent that's caught my eye in the last 7 days. Just a couple of things really quickly. First, Operation Recall. I guess I'm the only person on Earth in the action figure community who didn't know about this. I just found out about this, and I feel like a dork because it's been going on for a year or two. But basically, a lot of the original creators of the G.I. Joe series from back in the 80s, the toy series, a lot of those OG guys who were working at Hasbro and designing toys, doing the PR copy, designing those amazing packages back in the day. They're all old guys now. Like, no disrespect, it's just a fact. They're kind of old. They're like in their 70s and 80s now. And I guess they just didn't have enough to do, so they got together. A bunch of those guys came out of retirement to start a new Kickstarter project. It fucking like blew the doors off their goals. Like, they like checked their goals off immediately, and they like way surpassed it. So what they're going to do is they're going to get these old guys back in the day. They're going to design some new action figures. Now, these are not actual G.I. Joe. They're not authorized by Hasbro or anything like that. But like when you look at them, you're like, oh shit, this is the real stuff. Like, this is exactly what we had back then. It looks just like those actual figures. Same cool designs, same like, you know, cool characters. So they're going to launch the actual characters next year. They're supposed to go into production pretty soon. You can get in on this. You can get one figure. You can get all of them. I think altogether they're going to produce 19 plus an art book. So it looks pretty cool. If you like G.I. Joe, you like 80s action figures, you like action figures in general, this is something to get into. The doors are not closed on this. You can contribute if you wish and get in on it. I just got on it last week after this thing has been running for like 2 years, and I felt stupid for not knowing. But now you know as well. Operation Recall, you can find that anywhere, but probably mostly online. Kickstarter, I think. The only other bit of housekeeping this week is the PlayStation 30th anniversary. The original PlayStation 1 launched in 1994, and it launched with, I'm looking at a list of launch titles right here. Air Combat, Battle Arena Toshinden, ESPN Extreme Sports, Kalik, the DNA Imperative, that was the jam back then, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Rayman, Ridge Racer, and Soul Calibur. Have I played those? I think I've played all of them. I did get a PlayStation when it launched. Honey, what about you? Did you have a PlayStation at launch?
I did not get one at launch, but I believe that was the first console that I bought myself.
With your own grown-up money?
Yes.
Excellent. So, okay, cool. I have fond memories of the PlayStation 1. You know, I spent a lot of time on it. I was like, gosh, you know, now that you mention it, that might have been the first title that I bought with my grown-up money, too. The first console? Maybe. It's hazy. It's like 30 years ago. But I do remember playing a unit at a test event they had here in Seattle. They had a bunch of kids come in to like test it out, and I was one of those people. So I got to get hands on it like months before it launched. It was mind-blowing at the time. I mean, it looks super creaky now, but, you know, back in the day, like seeing Toshinden in 3D and like how they're rotating, it was like, holy shit, that's fucking mind-blowing.
I was in Minnesota at the time, so we didn't have those cool events there, unfortunately.
The thing that really blew me away, though, was Jumping Flash. Did you ever play Jumping Flash or not yet? No, you.
I am shaking my head no.
All right, that was a visual cue, folks. Yeah, it's funny because I remember seeing Jumping Flash, and it was like a robot rabbit, and the whole thing of it. If you haven't played it, you can play it on PS5 now. You can download it. I think it's like $5 or something. But you were like a 3D rabbit, and you were jumping. You could jump like so high, and seeing the height scaling back then was crazy. Like, you look at screenshots, you're like, this looks boring. But out of all the games that I played that day at the testing event, that was the one that really impressed me the most. Like, I got like a real sense of vertigo playing, and like you had that feeling of like your stomach dropping when you're falling from a great height. I think it still wigs me out. It's pretty good. You should play it. Maybe I'll fire it up before we go upstairs or whatever. But anyway, happy anniversary to the PlayStation 1. You're 30. Don't look a day over 29. It's wonderful. All right, that's it for housekeeping. But before we crack into the main portion of the show, I do want to give you a heads up. There is a Videogames Patreon. If you'd like to support the cost of running this show, even $1 US American dollar helps, a euro helps that much more. If you want to pitch in, you can do that over at patreon.com/the Videogames podcast. Also, there is a Videogames Discord where you can jump in and continue this conversation. Everyone is welcome, free of charge. If you want to join in, shoot me an email, and I will send you the details. Contact info for that is coming up at the end of the show. All right, let's get into the main thing here. As y'all know, I like to start off the main portion of the show with Circle Backs, where I circle back to things I've covered in depth on previous episodes. Not going to do all the details right now, but just think of this as a quick update to let you know my thoughts if things have changed for better or for worse. All right, let's see. Kicking it off with Wild Bastards here. Talked about this last week. I was pretty high on it, still pretty high on it. This is the first-person combination strategy, combination roguelike with like neon graphics, cowboys in space, aliens. Pretty cool stuff. I really dig it a lot. Happy to roll credits on it. I had a pretty hard time putting it down when I was playing, but I will say, overall, I think the campaign is a little bit too long. I probably could have done maybe 5 levels less, and I think it would have been just fine. I will say also that the story, was ended up being just okay. Now, I want to give it props because most roguelikes don't have a story, so I appreciate that there was one. It was like a totally like linear narrative, and that worked into the roguelike structure, which is no easy thing to do, so props for that for sure. But I think it didn't come together as well as it could have. I would have liked more moments with the characters. I would have liked more things happening during the campaign that would have like underlined the characters. And the ending was just like a whatever. It didn't really come together in that way. After they rolled credits, there was a new mode, which I thought was actually pretty cool, and I wish they had gotten to the new mode sooner. It's kind of a more traditional, like, randomly generated roguelike where they give you a couple characters out of the whole roster. I get why they didn't do it because they didn't want to spoil some of the things, but I think I could have used this mode a little sooner than I did. So they give you a couple characters, couple powers at random, and you kind of just do the best you can for as long as you can. It's pretty fun if you like roguelike, so that's a thumbs up. Overall, really, really great play. Liked it a lot. A little bit too long, but overall, definitely a winner. And you'll probably see this one on my end of the year list in the top 10 somewhere. I think that's probably going to happen. The other circle back is Kunitsu-Gami. I know I've been talking about this for like 19 years, but I finally rolled credits on it. It took a real long time because I was kind of playing it in between other games for the show. And it also got really hard at the end. It just had a big difficulty spike. Now, I think this game is great. I think this game is really experimental and rough, but it had a lot of cool ideas, and I just really, I dug it a lot. It's Japanese AF with like the mythology and all of the different monsters and stuff and the lore. So that was all really cool. Art design awesome. Typical Capcom, like looks amazing. I think the active tower defense really worked, but they were definitely experimenting on something. Some of the ideas worked better than others. I think some of the level design worked better than others. I don't think they ever had a good solution for the camera. I kind of struggled with the camera all the way through it. And at the end, I did hit some balance issues for sure. It was just like a couple of the bosses I felt like were like really overpowered in a way that didn't really jibe with how the game worked. There were some strange systems, strange things that were interesting, like how you didn't have a passive income when it came to getting resources. You had to kind of go around and collect them, which was just like a time suck. I wasn't really a fan of that. But overall, really great. I liked it a lot, although I will give a big caveat that I was feeling pretty high as I got to the last level. And then when I got to the last boss, I was feeling really low. And I'm like, oh no, are they going to ruin this entire game with the last boss? And I feel like they almost did. It was like a 2-phase boss. I'm not going to spoil it, but basically they change things and throw out everything you've done in the entire game and do something completely different at the 11th hour. I was like, oh, this sucks. I really hate this. Didn't think I was going to do it, but I actually did. And I'm glad I rolled credits. And it's just one of those lumpy, bumpy things that you just have to kind of love for what it is. So I totally appreciate they were swinging for the fences on this one. And it was something that they just really had to get out of their systems. It's great. It's good. I would love to see a sequel that had some polish put to it, smooth out some of the rough patches and just kind of like make it a little bit more cohesive. But honestly, it's probably a minor miracle it got made in the first place. So Kunitsu-Gami, ended up really liking it a lot, except for that really super crap last boss. But overall, good stuff. And it's still available on Game Pass. So dip in, check it out. Okay, those are all the circle backs I have for this week. We're going to get to the main portion of the show right now. And I'm going to turn it over to my lovely wife here. She played a new game, or fairly new game, came out in the last week or so, or 2 weeks. It's called Nikoderiko. Gina, do you want to talk about this?
I do want to talk about it. So my favorite genre of game is platformers. That's definitely the games I go for. When anything new platformer comes out, I'm going to try it because I really enjoy them and I feel like not nearly enough are made anymore, which I miss. So I was really excited for this one. It's a really cute looking platformer, bright colors, the art style was cute. It was, the main character is a mongoose, which we all kind of debated if that was actually what it looked like. I think each of us thought it looked like a different animal, and mongoose was nowhere on the list, but it is what it is. And I was excited to play it because it was kind of a palate cleanser because I had just finished Flintlock, and my next game I was going to play was God of War, which I think we're going to talk about.
We'll get to.
So I was excited to play this because totally different platformer, light, colorful, that kind of stuff. And I was pretty quickly disappointed. I will say, as much as I love platformers, I am not a precision platformer game person. Like, if you want to hear me swear a string of expletives, like, that's the game I'm going to play. My son knows immediately when I'm playing a platformer because he's like, oh, mom's playing a platformer because I have created 10 new swear words.
Yeah, he can hear your cussing throughout the house, and he starts laughing when he's like, oh, I know mom's playing a platformer. This game, it reminded me a lot of, like, you were saying that he looks like or he was supposed to be a mongoose, but he looks about as much like a mongoose as Crash Bandicoot looks like a bandicoot. But this game kind of looks like Crash Bandicoot, doesn't it?
Yes, it has a lot of similarities, the look, the feel, and it again, it was super cute. I enjoyed it for a little bit, but I have to say I did end up rage quitting it because I'm getting old and my reaction times are not as good as they used to be. And also, like, I do not have time for things that do not bring me joy. So it was making me madder than it was feeling like I had, like, beat this thing and done this successful move. I was like, fuck this shit. And I moved on.
Yeah, you didn't seem to be having a lot of joy on this. I totally get it. So, in general, I mean, you want to give us like a brief rundown because, like, visually, it's got like those same kind of like tropical colors. I mean, it looked like it was biting Crash's steez pretty hard. But like in terms of gameplay, like, what do you do? Like, is it strictly a 2D kind of thing, or like, give us a quick rundown on like the gameplay.
Yes, for the most part, it is. It does switch perspective a couple of times when you're on the level, so you've got the 2D and then it'll switch and you're kind of like running down this path with some monster chasing you, and Whitty loved that for some reason. He thought that was like great that it would switch perspectives like that.
Our son Whitty.
And so that part was kind of cool that it would change, so you're not technically doing the same kind of gameplay throughout the whole thing. But yes, it's very like Rayman, Crash Bandicoot kind of thing, and it was really, really similar to that. And you're chasing the coins, they're telling you where to go, which was what I was looking for. But again, the precision type platformer, that's not my thing.
So at one point I was watching you and you were doing like animal riding or something, and that was like a big part of the game, right? Like you had like a couple animals you could like switch through. You want to tell us about those real quick?
Yeah, so you start off the game right away with 3 different animals that you can basically ride throughout the game. One of the things that was odd was they would give you a little bit of a tutorial, but it was very late in the level. So by the time they would tell me, oh, you can do XYZ with the animal, I'm like, well, yeah, I had to. Like 4 spaces ago. Like you should have told me then. I had to mash a bunch of buttons to figure out what I was supposed to do. So that was a little weird, that it didn't tell me right away what I could do, but those animals were available right away. And I was like, I did the entire first level on that animal because I was like, clearly that's what you want me to do. But that isn't actually the case. You can bring the animal in whenever you want, and they actually are expecting you to kind of do it on your own until the animal is needed for a certain piece of the level. But I didn't realize that, so I just did the whole first level like with this animal. But again, I didn't really get a lot of information until kind of I was more at the end of the level, which I thought was a little odd. I mean, overall, the look of the game is very cute, bright colors, very like enjoyable to like look at. And I cannot tell you the story. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't really following that piece. I was just like, what's the next level? Let's go to the next thing, which is kind of how I play games anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what the story was, but I guess you've already answered that for me, so I guess we're good. I think if you had to pick like one thing overall, like I guess what was your main problem with it? Because I know, like you said, the tutorial sucked, and I talk on the show all the time about how difficult good tutorials are to do. I feel like I should be a consultant about that, and if anybody's listening, I am available for hire, and I guarantee I'll make your game better. But like if you had to pick like one thing that you think it should improve, or like what could it do? Like was it like loosey-goosey controls? Was it like spacing of obstacles was wrong, or like the animals weren't good, or like what? How would you like want to make it better?
I think the main thing was, if you're going to make a precision platformer, your controls have to be precise. Because if you want me to do something that's timed perfectly, or I have to jump on the peak of this tiny little thing. Like, I need my controls to allow me to do that, and I didn't feel like they did. I feel like they were looser than what I needed to make my character perform at. And so that got really frustrating, and I think that was ultimately kind of what pushed me off of it completely, because I admit, again, my reaction times are not what they used to be. I accept that. But that wasn't where I was getting the most frustration. It was like I would make the character do the thing that I needed to do, but then it would like slide off the platform. And I'm like, wait, what just happened? So I just got too frustrated with that piece.
All right. Well, that's definitely a problem when it comes to platformers for sure. So it seems like probably you're not going to come back to this one, are you?
No.
All right. That was Nikoderiko, Nikoderiko. Was not my wife's jam. And as I was watching it, I'm like, yeah, it looks like Crash, but maybe not my thing either. But, maybe if you're in the mood for a Crash type of thing, at least visually, maybe give it a shot. Who knows? It might be your jam. But there you go. I will talk now about Keeper's Toll. This one was a real surprise to me. It came out of nowhere. I got some PR on this, and I had a screenshot attached to it. And just side note, if you're in PR and you're listening to this, like, always put a screenshot in your email. I can't tell you how many times I get an email from somebody saying, hey, check out my game, check out this thing. And there's like no visual at all. And I'm like, oh, man, don't do that. You got to give me some kind of clue as to whether I want to click on that link to go to YouTube or not. But that's beside the point. Anyway, Keeper's Toll is a survivor's like. I refuse to call it a bullet heaven because I just don't want to do that. I just don't like that name. But it is very much like Vampire Survivors. Now, hon, you put some time into Vampire Survivors, didn't you?
I loved that game.
Yeah, I loved it too. That one kind of really grabbed us both. And I mean, well, not just the two of us, obviously. It's been like the success story of like the past 10 years or whatever. That and the roguelike card game, Balatro. Those two things I think have captured everyone's heart. But so I was not really in the mood for another Vampire Survivors like. And in fact, I'm a little bit embarrassed because I do have the DLC for Vampire Survivors, their most recent one, the Castlevania one, which I heard is dynamite, and I haven't even started it yet. But I got this code. They just sent it in, and I was like, I don't know. There's a lot of Survivors likes right now, but I gave it a shot, playing it on the Switch right now, and it ends up being kind of awesome. In a lot of ways, it's really similar to Vampire Survivors, but they do make some different changes that give it like an overall kind of different vibe. You have, I think, maybe like 8 characters from the get-go, and they all are kind of different. So like in Vampire Survivors, you have your character, and then it just depends on like what power-ups you pick up. Everybody starts with a different weapon, but essentially like they're all basically the same. It just kind of depends on whether you like the garlic first or whether you like the music notes first or whatever. But like there isn't really a lot of functional difference between them. It just comes down to like what power-ups you pick up. But in Keeper's Toll, each character is totally different. So everybody has their own distinct weapon loadout, and they all play very different from each other. So like it's still like basically a Vampire Survivors 2D, enemies rushing in from all sides and stuff. But for example, the very first character I picked was the Archer. So they have a lot of like arrow based powers, but they also have like a kite function. Now this kind of leads me into one of the main problems of the game. Now I like this game a lot. I think this game is great, so don't get me wrong. I think if you like Survivors likes, you should play this one for sure. But this game has a little bit of a problem with surfacing information. They don't explain things very well. And so I had to kind of like stumble around and figure things out. And sometimes it took me longer than it should to figure things out. So for example, the Archer, when I start playing the Archer, when you walk forward, she shoots backwards. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And so if you wanted to shoot the other way, you'd have to like point the opposite direction. Made no sense, but I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'll just make the best of this. And I play it, and she's kind of a cool, character. But then I realize there's a button. It's a kite button. So you can hit the A button, I believe, and then she flips. So if you're in a spot where you've got some room to breathe and you want to shoot your arrow forward, you hit the button, she shoots forward. But then when you're in a spot where you're getting swarmed and you need to like run away, you hit the button and then she starts firing backwards while you're escaping. And I'm like, oh, okay, brilliant. But it made no sense to me because you didn't fucking explain it. So that was weird. But then no other character does that. So it took me a little while to figure out it wasn't like a random glitch. I thought my controller was not working or there was a bug in the game or something. But then once I figured it out, I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense. But that was something you really could have surfaced. But every character does something different. There's like a melee guy, and he's got specific powers. I'm currently using the Necromancer. He summons a bunch of skeletons, and like he's all really focused on powering up the skeletons. So you can have a golem and a bunch of little skeletons running around the screen killing guys for you. And it's really cool. I love the diversity of each character. It's really fun. But that's not all. The other places where it diverges are that there's a secondary power-up screen. So you go into the level, you kill some dudes, get some experience, and then when you get done, you go to this menu, and there's like these passives that you can improve over time. So this is like persistent growth of your character. For example, with the Necromancer, he starts out with no healing whatsoever, which is really difficult. But he's got a passive where he can pick up corpses from people that you kill, and every corpse he picks up gives him like +5 life or something. And you can improve that over time. You can improve the ability of the skeletons. And so like his powers are still distinct, but they will get better and better the more experience you put into them, which gives you reason to kind of replay. And the other thing I like about it is there's actually a quest structure here, which is somewhat different. In Vampire Survivors, which again, I love, there's kind of like these little hidden objectives and like weird things you can do, but it's not really like a quest or anything. There's no story mode. But in this, there actually is a story. Light story granted, but it's still a story. And then you'll have small objectives in each level, but overall, you'll get to a boss level, and then the boss will be like this kind of like just straight up boss fight. You do a boss fight, and they're like, oh, well, you got to find this thing in this other level. And you go to this other level, you find that thing, and they kind of direct you to go back to this other thing. So there's like more of a series of objectives to do that kind of give you some purpose. And I believe that there will be like a roll credits. You finish the whole game. So there's a little nod towards like RPG actual storytelling. I really like it a lot. I think everything about this game is great. I think the pixel art is wonderful. I think the systems are great. The character variety is great. This one has really grabbed me in a way that other Survivors likes have not. So I think I probably put the most time into this one out of all the ones I've tried ever since. Like Vampire Survivor is still number one. I played that for like shitloads of time. But after that, I think Keeper's Toll is actually really good. And I haven't heard anybody talking about it. So I definitely would recommend it if you want another one of these types of games. It's just different enough while still having that same kind of flavor that it fits neatly in the genre. But I think it definitely has something to offer on its own. So I definitely give it a thumbs up for sure. Strong recommendation. All right, going to kick it back over to the wife here. Now, she mentioned this a minute ago, so it's kind of a spoiler ahead of time here, but she has been putting time into God of War, not the original from back in the day, but like the remake that came out, I don't know, a couple years ago. It's the one where they dadded him up, gave him the beard, gave him the axe, had the kid, daycare issues and so forth and so on. It's difficult to homeschool. Just listen to Kratos. He'll tell you. So the first one, not the most recent one, but the first one, Gina had never played it. I had played it. And just as a quick recap, I believe I reviewed it at Game Critics, and I believe somebody else did too. I want to say it was friend of the show, Mike Susky. And this is one of the famous games that actually got us burned off of Sony's PR list. We gave this game too low of a score, and that was where they were like, yeah, we're done with you bastards. So I don't think we've received anything from Sony since then, and that is not a joke. But anyway, I've got my thoughts on it, but we're not here to hear my thoughts. We are here to hear my wife's thoughts. So, hon, this is your first time. I know that you've played other God of Wars in the past, and you like this kind of game, like action game. I know you're kind of jonesing for one of these things, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. But give us your take on God of War here.
Yes. So I was really looking forward to playing this. I have played the other God of War games and really enjoyed them. I knew this was not going to be obviously exactly like that, but I was looking forward to it. Also, just side note, we had recently, not too long ago, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, got a new TV. So I was kind of excited to play it on the new TV. And I will say graphics are amazing. Like all of the layout of the land and stuff like that. Very cool. Really enjoy that. My first thought though, which as a parent, I don't know, maybe other people can relate, but like worst dad ever. Like just a fucking asshole. And there's like all these times where I'm like, don't say that. Just talk. What is happening? Don't do that. Like, so anyway, but that's the mom side of me coming out. And so I love when, Atreus, is that his name? I
think it's Atreus.
Atreus,
I believe.
Anyway, when his son gets sassy because he deserves it many times. But overall, I've been enjoying the game. The gameplay is not terribly complicated. I appreciate that you can have his son come in and help you out in certain instances, and you can give him abilities later on. I will say though that
that's just like real life though, right? Because
right.
We're doing that with our son now. We're giving it like as soon as I get enough experience, I'm going to give him like an improved archery skill next time.
If only it were as simple as putting points into a certain category and then you're done. He knows it and it's done. That's not at all how it works in real life. So anyway, I do have to say, though, that the skill tree, the upgrades of the weapons, the armor, all of that stuff is pretty complicated, and it feels like it's more than it needs to be. And then you throw in, you have a second person. So it's not just Kratos and his stuff. Now it's also his son and his stuff. And honestly, like, there are definitely times where they will, bring you into that menu and say, okay, you can do this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh my God, can we just get back to the game, please? So it's feels overcomplicated, and I haven't spent a whole lot of time with that piece. I get too much money or whatever, and I'll just like spend it in there because I just am like, I just want to play the game.
Yeah, as I was watching you play it, I mean, again, I think you're definitely on point with the graphics being really good. It is a looker for sure. And as I was watching you fuck with the menus, I was like, oh, that's right. I remember I hated that about this game because correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember it being like tons of chests, tons of like way too many upgrades that didn't feel really meaningful. Like I recall, like, oh, here's a plus 0.2 gain on if you use this ice axe on this so and so. It didn't feel like sometimes in Dark Souls or something, you get like a brand new weapon and you're like, oh shit, this thing has like this special power and it acts totally different. And this just felt like, oh, I'm just like, 1% better damage on this one axe or like 2% better defense. It didn't feel meaningful to me. And I remember I kind of checked out of that system pretty early. Is that kind of how you're finding it?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's Kratos, right? So you just bulldoze your way through stuff. I mean, that's really ultimately what it comes down to. So yeah, I definitely early on took the time to like, okay, I'm going to put some things here and I'm going to do some things here. And then it didn't feel any different. So then I was like, well, I'm just going to throw shit wherever and it's fine. So I definitely feel like it's overcomplicated and not giving me the benefit to like keep focusing on that piece.
Doesn't feel like the time you're putting into it is really worthwhile. That's kind of how I felt about it too. I was going to ask you though, I know that you were kind of in the mood for one of these, and we were going to talk about another game in a second, so put a pin on that. But one of the things that you were wanting was like a game that was kind of a straightforward, kind of a more, I don't want to say old school, but kind of like maybe like last gen approach to level design, which I can also appreciate. Sometimes you don't want to deal with an open world. Sometimes you want to just like move forward and focus on killing dudes and just, maybe turn your brain off a little bit. And I totally get that too. But this is maybe not exactly quite like that. If I recall, this world is pretty large. I mean, I know you're just starting, you haven't unlocked everything, but like, how are you finding like the world design so far?
Well, as we talked about before, the graphics are beautiful. I mean, it's really amazing to look at. Yes, I was in the mood for, like you said, I think you can call it old school because we're old and that's what I remember. I was really wanting something that, like you said, just kind of guided me through my path, tell me where to go. I don't need an open world. I enjoy those games, but like I just really wanted something back in the days where they're like, you follow this path and this is a dead end and so you have to go this way. That's what I was in the mood for. I will say for the most part, you can do that in this game. There are definitely some like wander off paths and I'm like, wait, is this my main path or is this my main path? But it does eventually kind of get you back to where you were, I feel like, in a way that is scratching the itch that I had of the kind of game I wanted to play.
So, I guess my other question to you then you've kind of already alluded to this, Kratos being like the world's worst dad, which I agree. Being a dad myself, I definitely agree. When I was playing this, I'm like, man, you were fucking this up, buddy. Like, you need to talk to your kid. Stop calling him boy all the time. Like, he's got a name and like, so I get it. But I guess, God of War has not been a series known for honestly, it's not been known for its writing. I mean, even back in the day when it started, it was like, goes to Sparta, whatever, going to kill some gods, blah, blah, blah. It was just like an action game and that was fine. But now that they're really leaning into like the story aspect, or at least leaning way harder into it than they have in the past, like how are you finding it? And I know you haven't you're not like super far in the game. It's like at least 20 hours to get through. How long do you think you're into it?
Maybe, I don't know, 10 hours at most.
Okay, so like maybe halfway. So like, what do you think of so far Kratos' new role as caretaker? His son, you mentioned he was a little bit sassy, and you said that he deserved. I think you mean like Kratos deserved the sass because he's being kind of a shit dad. I mean, give us your take on the story so far. What do you think of the story?
Yes, I meant the sass towards Kratos, I think was deserved. I would say, as I mentioned earlier, story is not maybe my main thing. RPGs are probably my least favorite genre of game, which I'm sure people will be very unhappy to hear. But so I'm really about the gameplay, about moving things forward. I will enjoy the story if they put it out there, but I noticed that there was a lot of lore, a lot of like, you found this new information, here's more lore, and I'm like, I will never ever click on that. So anyway, let's go back to the game. So it's definitely not my thing. I was not diving deep into the lore of Kratos and his son and that kind of stuff. So definitely not my thing. Like you said, the interaction between Kratos and his son is heartbreaking in some ways, right? Because Kratos is clearly like a bad dad. Like he's just like, he cannot connect with his son. And like you said, it drives me crazy that he constantly calls him boy and never calls him by his name. And his son even calls that out. He's like, boy this, boy that. And I'm like, yeah, you fucking tell him. So the interactions between those two, especially when the son starts getting sick of his shit, because like it eventually gets to the point where his son, obviously they're heartbroken, right? Freya has died. Freya, right? That's her name, right? I don't remember. She's died. They're sad. They're on this mission, right? But like eventually his son gets to this point where he's just like, can you just stop? Like, you only want me to like translate things for you. You only want me to like open doors. You only want me. And so that part is kind of funny because he's just this tiny little kid. And yet he's like, fuck you, you asshole.
That's actually kind of hilarious because now I think that our son is actually asleep right now. We're recording this, like Gina said, it's like 5:40 in the morning. When our kid gets up, I think I will hand him a book and be like, read this. And then like when I want to go outside, I'll be like, open this door. That'd be pretty funny.
But you also need to make sure you call him boy.
I will call him boy. Open. Oh
my God.
He would not react pretty nicely to that. I do think it's funny that Kratos is loading his kid up with tons of trauma, tons of issues. Right. The counseling of the gods is gonna be like the next installment is when Atreus is like on the couch. Yeah.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, he's gonna be like with some pantheon, and they're gonna just be. It's gonna be a visual novel. They're gonna be just talking about his problems and stuff. But anyway, so I mean, I did finish this one. I did not play Ragnarok, which is the one that comes afterwards, but I did finish this one. And my overall take of it, not to influence you or anything, is that it was like a really amazing 8-hour game, like bloated up to be 20 hours of a campaign. I loved it for 8 hours, maybe even 10, but I felt like the game was like basically twice as long as it needed to be. And at a certain point, I just stopped doing all the side quests. I stopped picking up the chests. I was like, I just don't care anymore. I don't care about this extra stuff. I want to just like get out of here. So like, how are you feeling like so far? Like you said, you're about 10 hours in. You feel like it's still going good for you, or like what's your take?
Well, it's funny that you say that because I'm actually at a piece where there's these chests, right, that you have to like hit 3 locks, and there's like a puzzle. Sometimes it's straightforward, sometimes it's not. You got to find it. You got to like whatever. And there was one of those, and I couldn't figure out how to get like all 3 of the locks. So I was like, fuck it, whatever. And I moved on. But then the game funnels you back to that area. So I came across the same chest and I was like, no, I'm not even gonna bother. So I'm definitely getting that feeling of I'm good. Like I don't need to do these like weird puzzles that I have to like time everything just so. I mean, we've already had an entire discussion on precision and timing for me. But I'm still enjoying it. I'm still playing it. I plan to play it to the end. There are still things about it I'm enjoying, but I am definitely already getting to the place where what I'm doing is less and less and less. And it's just straightforward. I'm going to chuck my axe. I'm going to chop off your head. I'm going to have him shoot you with an arrow, and we're just going to move on with our lives.
Right on. Well, we'll circle back to this, and we'll see how you end up feeling about it. I'm curious to see what you think about the story. I know it was kind of a big deal to take Kratos, which was Greek, not Roman, Greek, I believe, and that whole thing. Sparta? Is that Greek? Yes. I didn't see 300, so I don't know for sure. But, and to move it into like the Norse pantheon and stuff. So I'll be curious to see what you think of the ending. For me, it was kind of a groaner, but I mean, maybe you'll like it more than I did. Who knows? But anyway, that was God of War, the old new one, or the new old one, whichever one. You know what I'm talking about. It's that one. One more game to talk about, and this is one that Gina and I have both played. She played it first. Well, that's not true. I played it first. I recommended it to you because I stopped after like an hour. You played it to completion and loved it, and then that inspired me to pick it back up. It's Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. It's currently on Game Pass. That's where I'm playing it. That's where you played it as well, I believe. So just this one I think is a sleeper hit this year. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it, but I really liked it when it dropped. I remember I downloaded it right away. We'd been getting a lot of PR about it, and I like the look of it. It's kind of like a Souls-like. I don't know that I really want to put it squarely in that basket. I think there are elements to it. I mean, there's like a corpse run. There's interconnected worlds, sort of, but I don't think it has that same precision of combat. There's definitely not like stamina aspect to it. So I think it's only got like shades of Souls-like. I think it's more of like a straight across action game, kind of maybe closer to something like God of War, in fact. But this one came out, and I dropped into it, and I'm like, yeah, this looks really cool. But for whatever reason, I can't remember. I was just really busy at the time, and I didn't have, the time to really sink into it and finish it. So I put it on my list of like, circle back to this before the end of the year because I feel like something is really here. And then you freed up from whatever you were playing, and you were looking for something actiony. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I really like Flintlock a lot, and I know what you like. I know your taste really well. So I recommended this to you, and you really took off with it. You finished it like in a couple days or whatever. The basis of this game is you play a woman. Her name is Nor. She is a woman of color, strong soldier type. She's got an axe, helmet, a little bit of armor on her. And in this world, there's some kind of like dimensional gate or something that's somehow been opened. And all these zombies are like pouring through it, and they're just like ruining the world. And so she and the rest of her army are going to plug up the hole. They can't get it done. It's like magic. They're not up to the task. Something goes wrong, and then everything just gets shitty. So most of her team dies, and the whole thing gets scattered, and they kind of like, she gets set back to the beginning, and she has to kind of start off on this journey to find her friends and to plug up that hole eventually. The gist of this one is that you are kind of in like, I don't want to say old school. We just talked about this a second ago in God of War, but you're in this like island, like super picturesque island where there's like beautiful vistas all over the place, running water and stuff, and mountains and everything. And Nor is like going down these paths. It's almost like the game is leading you in a big circle around the whole island. I haven't gotten to a part where you circle back yet, but like I'm still trying to complete the circle the first time. So it's got kind of like rails to kind of guide you where you need to go, but also there's a pretty fair amount of like searching off the beaten path and like diverging paths and stuff like that.
I definitely think that's the case because as you and I know, we play games, we approach the same game very differently. We've noticed that like when we play puzzle games that, you're like, you should move it, and I'm like moving the other thing. And that's one thing that I noticed with this game because I wouldn't have said it's like a circle because of the process that I took. I jumped around quite a bit, and then after I jumped around and they're going to send you to the next like island or next piece of the world, that was when then I explored the whole thing and like went back and got like the side quests and went back, and so I kind of jumped around a little bit.
That's interesting because I have really not jumped around at all. I mean, that's nothing new. I mean, we know we play games very differently. Our brains work in very different ways, not like in a dumb Mars Venus thing, but just like how we, like analyze things. I've talked about this in the show before, like playing Tetris, right? That was the first time I really noticed it, where we had just gotten together and we were playing Tetris somewhere, and I was watching you play Tetris, and I was like squirming in my seat because I'm like, that's not where that piece goes. When you put that piece, but you were still winning, right? Like you were still doing fine. And it, and then when we switched, you were like, oh gosh, like what are you doing over there? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just doing my thing. And like each of us was quite good at the game, but we were playing it so differently. And that was the first time we're like, man, our thought process of how we perceive, space and strategy is just like really, really different, but like also successful. I think this is a good example as well. Like I'm following the circle. I haven't really diverged yet. And you saying you jump around a lot, which is interesting. I will say though, one thing that I noticed was different was when I played this the first time, I don't know what I did, but I did something very different this time because I remember playing back then, starting the game, going on this like tower. I got a power up for your animal companion, which I haven't even mentioned. You have this like god who's incarnated into like the body of like a fox bird thing. He's got a cool voice. He's got powers. He's your buddy. He gives you magical abilities and stuff. Very cool companion. Facilitates travel, which I'll talk about in a second. but I did a power up for him, and I did this whole thing, and I remember going on this like real long dog leg where I was like finding stuff, and then this time when I played the game, I have no idea where that section was. I'm like, I didn't see that section. What did I do differently? So clearly there's room for going different ways. I must have made different choices this time. But they kind of take you on this path around the world. And then getting back to the animal companion, one place where this really diverges is it's pretty acrobatic and really vertical. A lot of the levels have very, very vertical space. Like you start off on the ground, but there's like steps to climb, ladders, cliffs, peaks, and sometimes you're up really, really high. And that's facilitated by your magical animal. His name is Enki. And he's like this fox thing, but like he's also like a god. And so he will help you warp to places. You open up these warps as you go through the world, and you'll like he'll pick you up and like you'll be absorbed into his body. You become this purple swirl, and you like cross over these really long distances, cross a river, go super high, or he'll catapult you over places. So you're doing a lot of like acrobatic vertical stuff. And in addition, he also gives you the power to like do these like dodges during combat. You have a dodge that lets you jump higher. You have a dodge that lets you jump further. And I think there's like one more, like a combat dodge or something. And so because of this, you have these supernatural abilities to climb and be very exploratory in a vertical sense in a way that I don't think any of the Souls games really do. So, honestly, I really enjoyed that verticality and like the jumping and stuff. What did you think about like how this game handles in general?
Yeah, that was definitely a piece of it. There's upgrades you can get for Enki, finding those feathers. I don't know if you've really been introduced to that yet. But those tend to be really high up. So you can see them, which is nice. They give you a little marker so you can like tell when you get close to something. But oftentimes it's way the fuck at the top of a cliff and you're like, what the hell? And it is not just climb straight up the mountain. Like one of the things, so our son is 15. And his reflexes, much better than mine. But he is always like, if he watches me play games, he's like, Mom, just do XYZ. And I'm like, child, shut it. Because he wanted me to just go up the side of the mountain. He's like, just climb up there. And I'm like, that's not how this works. So that particular one that we were talking about, you had to go a pretty, winding way to get there, but it was like up and up and up and up, but it's still pretty obvious about kind of where you need to go. You need to look around a little bit and make sure you're like finding the right areas, but there definitely is a component of like things are up there, so pay attention and look for those pieces.
Let me ask you, because like as I'm going through this, and I know again our brains kind of work differently when we're doing map navigation and stuff like this, but as I was going through these levels, like I can see the overall map is kind of like generally circle-ish, and as I was going through these levels, I often found myself, I don't want to say like totally like disoriented, but like I would get into like maybe you're like in a hallway type structure. You're not in a hall, but like maybe you're on a narrow strip of land or whatever, so there's really nowhere to go. You're kind of just walking forward, and then you would get to like this like circle, like a cul-de-sac or something, and then I would be like, wait, which way am I facing? And I kind of had a hard time trying to cover everything, right? Like you get to this like area, there's like maybe a couple buildings, something tall, and I would look around and I would try to like pick a plan of attack, but everything seemed kind of like chaotic in those circles a little bit, and I ended up spending what felt like to me like maybe twice as long as it should have taken me to kind of cover these areas. And even when I got done, I still kind of felt like maybe I missed something because for whatever reason the geography of this just didn't quite click with me, and I felt like a little bit lost at times. Did you feel that way at all, or not really?
No.
Oh boy, here we go.
So yes, again, I think the way that we look at things, directions, and we always joke that that's one of my superpowers, right? I can keep my directionality when we're going to someplace new, when we're driving. I can keep that pretty clear in my head, and I can definitely like, oh, we need to go over this way or that way. So I think that part kind of played into it a little bit, but I didn't feel that way. I felt like I could navigate things pretty well, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've been here. I'm gonna like go around this other way. So for me, that wasn't as much an issue.
I mean, that's fair. And I don't know what I expected. I mean, I'm sure I should have known that was going to be your answer. But I will say for the direction impaired like me, the game's map is actually pretty good. I think it's very detailed and it scales well and it tells you exactly where you are in the map. It's not one of those bullshit maps where it's like, oh, you're in this region and then you just have to fucking figure it out or whatever. Like they really tell you you're literally right here, you're facing this way, which helps me quite a bit. I'm really grateful for that because I actually use it quite a bit. Can I say quite a bit one more time? Yes, I can. Quite a bit. One thing that I do maybe not like so much about this game is it's not a Souls-like, as I said at the top of the show, but I do feel like the combat could be a little bit tighter. And what I mean by that is I often getting hit by guys that I don't think I should get hit by. So specifically, you've got an axe. That's your main form of attack. You've also got like a pistol, and then sometimes you've got like a secondary weapon or something like that. And so you'll come in and you can parry, which I'm not great at. I mean, I can do it maybe 50-50 here in this game, which is okay. There's various moves you can do. You can change your skill tree and stuff like that. So it's fine. And I think the combat is okay in general, but like specifically, there's not like a lot of stagger on this. And so like when I go to hit a guy, I think he's like, if I got hit in the face with a fucking axe, I think I probably would be like, take a minute to just like take that in, right? I'd be like, oh, my skull has been cleaved in two. What's my next move? I would think about it for a second. But in this game, like you hit these guys and they don't really, I mean, some of them stagger, but they don't really like get rocked back the way that you would do like in Dark Souls or something, where if you hit somebody with like your strong attack, like they reel back and it kind of opens them up to like further attacks, right? But in this, it feels a bit like they get it and they feel it a little bit, but they're still coming. And so a lot of times I get hit when I feel like I shouldn't get hit. And this game also has a system where enemies will glow red right before they do like a quote unquote unblockable. And they suggest, kind of taking a note from Bloodborne here, that when you see an unblockable coming, you should shoot them because your gun will interrupt an unblockable, which I think is a good system. But I often find that the window to shoot people is very small. And sometimes the guys are busting out like unblockable, like too many of them in a row. So, I mean, that to me feels like something that needs to be tightened up a little bit. What was your take on the combat?
Not the same.
Oh, man.
No, I totally understand what you're talking about, but I think I used my gun a little bit more than you did, like, so it became a little more of my habit. So I was definitely using that to kind of like push people back or to like just kind of knock them out of something. So I did actually use that quite a bit, which stopped it. And also, I'm not playing the game with a game critic's brain. I'm just playing, right? Like am I enjoying this or am I not enjoying this? And I would say overall, I really like Flintlock. I thought it was a really great game. It was exactly what I wanted at the time, which was like, that makes all the difference for me. If I'm in the mood for something in particular, that was exactly what I wanted to play at the time I wanted to play it. And so I really, really enjoyed it. I would say the combat, yes, it could be a little bit tighter, but overall I wasn't really feeling like I was struggling with it. So I just kind of moved through the game.
That's a good point. And to be clear, I think this game is great. I know I'm being a little bit critical on it. But I think this game is actually really, really good, and I think it's overlooked for sure. I guess for me, it was just like annoying because one of the mechanics of this is like when you get experience, you get a multiplier the longer you go without getting hit. And so if you are good and you manage your combat well, you can get like, you can take 500 experience points and parlay it into like 2,000 or 3,000 if you're really good.
Yeah, that piece, I definitely did not get the super high multipliers. That was a frustrating part, especially in the beginning, because you have to bank it. So if you don't do that, you'll lose it if you get hit. And so I was not good about remembering to do that. So
yeah, and that's kind of what made it really kind of stand out to me a little bit more, because the combat did feel a little bit sloppy. I mean, not to the point that I disliked it, but you notice, like I notice when I'm getting hit when I don't feel like I should, but then it really is underlined by, oh, great, I just lost my 45% multiplier. Fuck that.
Yeah, that was definitely a piece I noticed where I didn't think I got hit, but I would see my numbers disappear. And I'm like, well, shit. So
yeah, that part was needs a little bit of tightening. But I mean, overall, I think it's great. I think Nora's great. I like the conversation she has with Enki. Sometimes when you're going in like a quiet patch where there's no enemies, they'll have a little convo. And as this god from this other realm, he like comments on things. Like he's like, oh, this thing is really weird, or why did this guy say that? Like he seems like he's kind of like an alien being. And he's got a cool voice too. I like their rapport.
Yeah, the voice actors are great. Yeah, I enjoyed that part as well. There's often times where he's like, why would they do that? Why did they say that? And she's like, Enki, like they're traumatized. Like they've been through, and she would like bring the, human element to it, right? And she would be like, they're feeling a lot of feelings. Like they're responding this way because they're scared. They're responding this way because they're sad, And so she brought a lot of like the emotion to it. And I thought the voice acting with the two of them was great.
Yeah, I fully agree. And this other part that I really am enjoying about the game, which maybe will sound kind of weird to people, but like, it's picturesque. You're on this island. There's these cool vistas. I mentioned that already, but it's like as you're going through the town, something about it I think is resonating with me because of the real world and the chaos that's happening right now. Like the political upheaval that's going on in the United States and the rest of the world, and the ecological problems we're having, and just everything. I feel like this game in some ways is giving me like this fantasy of like a simpler life. Like I don't want to be jumping off of cliffs and hacking zombies and stuff like that. But like when she gets to a village and people are just kind of like kicking it, they're like gathering hay and they're just like, they're sitting by a fire. And I'm like, damn, something about that looks so idyllic and peaceful. I mean, it's totally not, because they're about to get slaughtered by zombies in the next scene. And there's all sorts of monsters and shit. But something about like the town design, the fact that they've got a coffee shop as the heart of each town, I think is really like unusual, but also incredibly appealing, despite the fact that the coffee barista is like some kind of weird arm monster in every town, which is fucking weird as shit. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with the arm monster that makes the coffee. That's really weird. But did you have feelings on that?
The coffee shop was what sold me.
Yeah.
I love that was like the heart of the town.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something about this. There's like this kind of underlying human element where I really like Nor, I like Enki, I like the world. I really like the world that they're in. And if you took away like all of the zombies and the monsters and stuff, I'm like, man, I don't know. I kind of might like to live in this land. This kind of seems kind of cool. It feels a little bit better than what we've got right now going on. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just fantasizing things too much.
It's because we're currently going through trauma, so that is why.
Boy, more trauma for you. Anyway, I think Flintlock is fucking dynamite. Now, I'm definitely going to finish it. I've been playing the last couple of days. I feel like progress is going really well. I haven't really been stopped by anything really too much. There's like one or two places where I had to figure a couple things out, but overall, I think it's really interested in keeping you moving forward, and I just like the whole vibe in the world and everything. Now, you rolled credits. Don't spoil anything, but how do you feel like the end game was? Did you feel satisfied by it? Like, how did it wrap up for you?
Yeah, I feel like it wrapped up well. I enjoyed everything about it. Again, the interactions, and I feel like it was setting it up to do more. I'm not sure that they will be, but I feel like that's kind of how they ended it. But overall, I really enjoyed the game. I actually started it like right before the holiday weekend. So I was actually off work and it was quiet. And so I was actually able to put a significant amount of time in it, which I don't usually get. And I enjoyed it all the way through.
Yeah, I think the team that is responsible for this, I believe it's A44, if I'm not mistaken. I think they've got some real fucking talent here. I don't know how well this game has been received. Like I said, I don't hear a lot of people playing it or talking about it. I don't know if it's going to be on anybody's end of the year list. It might be on mine. I think it's a real contender to be on mine. But I hope that they meet some success. I think they deserve to keep making games. I really like their different approach, especially in the current atmosphere. I mean, some of the choices they're making are pretty different and pretty interesting. So I think they've got a lot to say. I'm pretty excited to see if they move on to something else and what they do next. Maybe it's a sequel to this. Maybe it's not. But I think these guys are onto something good. What do you think?
Yeah, I would love to see a sequel to this, but anything that comes out next, I would definitely check out. I very much enjoyed this game.
Right on, right on. All right, folks, that is the last game we're going to cover. That is the end of the main portion of the show. It's officially done, but like many humans, Gina and I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right. It's time for the TV and movie roundup. All right, as we do, going to start off with TV. I am very, very sad to say that the most recent season of Great British Bake Off is now over. No! I've talked about it in the show before, but the wife introduced me to it, and we fucking love it. It's one of my favorite shows, but I think most humans on the planet love this show, right? And in fact, many people say this show is the only thing stopping the human race from spiraling off into depression and chaos.
If you don't like this show, you're a monster.
You are a broken, empty shell of a human being if you don't like this show. I love this show. I could watch infinite. I wish there was a show, like an episode every day. I would watch it literally. Would you watch it every day?
Yes, because similar to what we were talking about with the island, right, on Flintlock, like I think we're looking for something that's just happy. It's carbs, it's sugar, everybody's nice to each other. Like, it's just everything.
That's really the thing about it, right, is it's really nice. And I know that not every British person is nice. I met some jerks, so I get it. But I think it's like this kind of idealized space. And but everybody goes, like one person a week will go, and one person wins and stuff. But often during the show you'll see the competitors or contestants helping each other out. Like one person will be behind on baking a cake or something, and they'll be like, oh, can you help me squeeze the frosting on, or hey, can you grab that fondant or whatever, and someone comes over and they do it if they have time. And I mean, that lack of cutthroat, lack of backstabbing is something I really enjoy about that, and it shows you can compete and do things without really having to like fuck anybody over in the process, right?
And I would say that's true of Paul and Prue as well. They're not looking to make people feel bad, right? Like
judges.
they're not looking to crush these people. Like they're just like people. Like these are just home bakers. It's a mom, it's a kid in school. Like, these are just people, and they don't treat them like you're the biggest idiot and I can't believe you made this claggy mess. They are just like, this didn't work or that didn't work. And I know I'm going into a show where people look at each other with respect, I think is what it is. Like they all seem to genuinely like respect each other. They respect that they have made it to this space. I recently read an article about all the steps that somebody has to go through to even apply. And I was like, that's a lot of hoops. Like you have to make an effort to get even to the tent, right? So the whole feeling of the show, I mean, who knows? Maybe everybody fucking hates each other off camera. I don't know. But like, it's just the whole show is just, everybody's just so happy to be there, I think, and thankful. And it's just, again, the world the way it is just like a little respite for an hour to just not think about all the shit.
Yeah, I've heard many people say that if aliens landed on the planet tomorrow and they were to be given like one piece of media that best summed up humanity, like this is what we should give them, not any of the other stuff, but like give them this would really show like the best of what human beings can be. And I think that's kind of right. I definitely agree with that. So I'm sad that Bake Off is over. They'll be back with a one-shot special, like a New Year special in January, which is great. But like they need to start making a new season like immediately, and it needs to be like 500 episodes because I need this show to live. So going back a little bit, we were looking for a family show to watch, something that was appropriate for all of us, at dinner time or whatever. And we went back to not the original Doctor Who, but again, we're doing this like it's a remake, but it's older than the new stuff. I don't even know how to explain the time period. But when they rebooted Doctor Who in whatever year that was with Christopher Eccleston, who only stuck around for one season, which was a bummer because I thought he was great, and Billy Piper, who plays Rose Tyler. I mean, Eccleston was replaced with what's that guy's name? The other guy?
David Tennant.
Of course. David Tennant. How could I possibly forget? So we started watching that again, and I gotta say, it holds up. It's really fun. They kind of do the Monster of the Week thing, which I think really works for us. The performances are fun. Doctor Who in general is fun, and I think I wasn't sure how our son Woody was gonna like it or not, but he seems to be kind of into it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's really enjoying it. We're only a couple episodes in, like you said, but I'm really enjoying it too. My memory, not what it used to be. So some of this is like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that's right. So, but I'm enjoying going back to it too. I mean, like you mentioned, I know David Tennant is like, I think people's favorite when they look back, especially at this newer or the old reboot, new reboot. But I really liked Eccleston. I actually really enjoyed his performance, and I was disappointed that he was only one season. But I am looking forward to seeing David Tennant show up because I did enjoy his. And when it's him and what's his companion? Donna Noble. Oh my God, the two of them together, like beautiful. I'm super excited to get to those episodes.
Yeah, Catherine Tate, who plays Donna Noble, my favorite of all the companions. Catherine Tate does a fucking great job. Apparently, it was a pretty controversial pick in the UK, where she's known for being a comedic actress, like skits and stuff. And in fact, we went back and watched some of her show. It was funny as shit. Like, I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, I really enjoyed her stuff, but also just the way that they were together, their chemistry, I thought was. I know people loved, David Tennant and Billy Piper, right?
Yeah.
I know people really like the two of them together, but honestly, like Catherine Tate and David Tennant, like the way that they were together on screen was it was beautiful.
Yeah, she will always be my favorite. I just fantastic stuff. So enjoying going back to that. That's really good. I've also talked about G.I. Joe Renegades a lot lately. I think there's only 26 episodes because Hasbro idiotically cut it short I went into this before, don't need to really repeat the whole thing, but basically creative differences. It didn't match up with what they wanted, so they cut the show short. Didn't realize what a great show they had on their hands, but we are now on episode like 24 out of 26, and I'm going to be genuinely sad when it's over. I thought the show has been great. Love the reimagining of G.I. Joe. Great new characters. Great new. The writing has been really good. Action's good. Everything reimagined. I mean, I just been kind of in love with this, and I know you've been liking it too, right?
Yeah, I initially went into it just watching it with you. It was what you wanted to watch, and I was like, sure, I'll watch it. And I wasn't really expecting much from it, but I've actually really enjoyed it. I think like you said, the voice acting is great. You know, it's a mix of characters. It's a slightly different take than the typical G.I. Joe. And I've been really enjoying it. And I am very disappointed that once again, you know, the powers that be are not recognizing what they have because they've got some other idea on the table that they were like, it didn't make all this money for this certain way. And it's like, but it, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, it's a shame because as we're watching it, I know that one of the big problems that's been reported anyway was that the show, quote unquote, did not lend itself to being toy figureized. I guess they didn't feel like they could get figures out of the show because the art direction was too different. They hired a French artist, concept artist, to redesign all the characters. I think he did a great job. It's like an anime / French kind of design to everybody. It looks very different, very distinct. I love it. And honestly, I think it would be perfect. The way that people eat anime up these days, I think people would have really gotten to it. Yeah, there's an old guard of old dudes like me who, I mean, and I don't count myself as one of them. I'm old as they are, but I'm not them, where they're like resistant to change and they only want to buy the same 20 figures over and over and over and nothing different ever. Rah, 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 rah. But I'm not like that. I think that there was a lot of good stuff here, a lot of fresh energy, a lot of cool ideas. And as we're watching the show, there's like so many opportunities to have good characters. They could have had a wonderful toy line that they just absolutely refused, kicking and screaming, to do. The toys that got put out were just crap. And I just think they missed a huge opportunity here.
One of the things that I really enjoyed was them introducing a character, and then all of a sudden you'd be like, oh, it's that guy, because something would happen in the story to kind of like create them becoming that person. And I am not super familiar with G.I. Joe, so like I didn't see these people and immediately know who they were. So once they became kind of the typical character from before, like they had the coloring or whatever, I would recognize it and go, oh. And it was kind of a cool way of them setting that up for a couple of different characters that they had.
Yeah, they basically rebooted the entire G.I. Joe universe. They kept a lot of the same characters. I mean, Cobra Commander, Destro, Zartan, Duke, and Flint, and all the guys that you would recognize from the 80s, but like totally redesigned, new origins, new angle, new personalities, but like really like kind of updated for the modern style. Nothing wrong with the 80s stuff. I still love it, but I mean, I think there's room enough in the world and in my heart for like more than one version of something like this. So again, I know I go on and on about it, but I'm really sad that number one, I missed it in the first place. I didn't watch it when it first aired, like in 2010, I think. Totally had no idea. I mean, I don't know what I was doing in 2010, but clearly I was not keeping up with G.I. Joe. But yeah, it's just a big disappointment, a big whiff to me that they did not realize what a great thing they had in their hands, and they just let it die in favor of whatever thing they moved on to. So I'm going to pour one out for Duke and the rest of the team. But this has been a kick-ass show. If you like just good cartoons or G.I. Joe in general, definitely worth your time. Only going to talk about one movie this week. It's called Viral. I think we kind of picked it at random. It just popped up on our, I don't know, iTunes search. It was like one of those, we think you'll like this kind of movie or whatever. This was a movie, I believe Blumhouse was involved. Is that right? Yeah. I want to say it was. And it was a movie. Now, so this like blew my mind, right? This was about a virus that spreads. People don't take it seriously. It infects everybody. People have to quarantine. It fucks up the whole country and life goes sideways. In this particular movie, it wasn't just a virus. It was a virus that like became worms inside of you, which was fucking gross. But as we watched this whole thing, the CDC came through, quarantine, curfew, all this stuff.
They also passed out a bunch of PPE, and people were wearing their masks on their head. One girl made a bikini out of her mask. Like they were totally just like, who the fuck cares? We're just going to do whatever we want.
All that stuff that you may remember from when COVID was hot and heavy and when people actually acknowledged that it existed. But the thing that blew my mind about this was this movie was made like 3 or 4 years before COVID even happened. I was like, oh my God, how in the world is this not a post-COVID movie? Because it called out so many things dead correct, totally predicted them. People's stupid behavior, how the CDC would act, what it would feel like to be isolated, masks and everything. Like, I was like, dude, there's no way this is post or pre-COVID. But it was like a couple years before COVID. Blowing my fucking mind, dude.
Yeah, I think when we were all watching it, we were like, oh, this is clearly like 2019 or 2020 or 2022. Like we were all convinced that this had to have been after the pandemic had started, and it was just bringing up those pieces. And I think it was 2014 it was made.
Something like that, whatever. I mean, whatever it was like definitely like several years before COVID was a thing, before any of this was brought to the forefront of our minds, before any of us knew what an N95 was, before any of us really had thought about the CDC or whatever.
Well, and it's hilarious because one of the main characters, she's like, taking it seriously and trying to figure out, she's like the smart girl, right? Like she like takes it seriously, but she is wearing a mask and not wearing it the right way. And the anxiety, because we still mask, COVID's still a thing. Everyone should be anyway. Watching her not wear a mask the right way was like so anxiety inducing to me. I'm like, oh my God, the worms are going to get in there. Like put them, what are you doing? Like she had the straps like down too low. That was honestly the most stressful part of the movie for me.
Oh my God. I was like, will you tighten that motherfucking nose piece? What is wrong with you? There are worms that are going to get in your fucking brain. Will you please put that goddamn mask on? Yeah, that was really funny. But like, anyway, I mean, I thought the movie was good. I think it definitely hit home because we are still living, in a not, I don't want to say post-COVID as in COVID's over, but post-COVID that it's here and still here. Post-COVID in the sense that we are living with the consequences of it or whatever. So it definitely hit a lot harder than I think it would have pre-COVID, and it just still was just like so prophetic in so many ways. I mean, thank God that there were no worms to go. I mean, can you imagine if people got, I mean, maybe that would be a good thing. Maybe they would take it seriously if there were worms that went in your brain, right?
Yes, exactly. I was just going to say that honestly, I think if COVID were more obvious, like all of a sudden you started, bleeding from your eyeballs, then people would take it more seriously, but it's airborne and people are just like, it's fine. Everybody says it's fine. So nobody's taking it seriously. If we breathed out like a cloud of purple, then we could be like, it's this thing. But like, that was one of the parts of this movie, right? As they would show those worms moving around under their skin. And I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, it was super skeevy, so that was gross. So I don't know, maybe spitting blood and breathing out purple clouds and having worms in your eyes would deter people and help them put masks on. But whatever, we're living in, maybe not even that, We've always had worms. Worms are good for you. It's fine. Anyway, that was a good movie. Enjoyed it a lot. And folks, that is a show. Before the closing music, I would love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, and most important of all, please recommend So Videogames to your friends because nothing beats good old word of mouth. Also, if you want to support the show and help with the cost of running that, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Videogames podcast. If you want to join our Discord, that is free of charge. As always, I would love to get your questions and comments. Hit me up in the Discord or email me directly, sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com, or hit me up on social media. No longer on Twitter, but you can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's my name, BRADGALLAWAY. All A's, no O's. And that is going to do it for episode 417. Thank you so much for joining us here on the So Videogames podcast, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.